Life is hard, but it doesn't have to be. Natural disasters, global events, and personal relationships can pose their own obstacles. Focusing on the positive aspects of any difficult experience can be challenging. Understanding how we apply gratitude can be life transforming. It's a simple process of appreciating the contrast between suffering and redemption. Today, we want to share quick tips on how to tap into gratitude through tough times that might serve to help you, especially during the holidays. Stick with us until the end of the video and discover several ways to incorporate more gratitude practices into your life. Let's start the conversation.
Hey, Mystics. If you're new here, welcome. If you already know us, welcome back. I'm Kai Bertrand.
I'm Susie Parker Goins.
And I'm Lisa Stewart. Welcome to the Mystic Mosaic Podcast. We're here to help illuminate, clarify, normalize, and encourage you as you develop your gifts so that you can confidently build a sustainable lifestyle for you, your family, and even your career.
We are providing information to you to use as a launching point for your own spiritual journey. We are not doctors and we won't be giving medical advice. Plus, we won't be giving free readings. The information provided here is for educational purposes only.
Okay, so let's start with gratitude. What is it? Personally, I interpret gratitude as awareness for the good people and good things that happen in my life and savor them. For me, gratitude is simply being grateful for what I have on my plate, not for what I don't have on it, minus the entitlement, of course. And also, like joy, the feeling of gratitude is fleeting. Once I start counting my blessings, I can string them together like moments on a charm bracelet. No one can take these moments away from me. Those moments help me to regain and reinforce my sovereignty.
Gratitude is definitely something I strive to practice in the moment. I'm grateful for whatever it is that I find. And there are times I'm walking along and something what I perceive as good being happen. I thank my guides. People talk about staying in a state of gratitude. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes it does take that deep dive, which is what strengthens one's spiritual practice. Kai?
Yeah, for me, it's always a reminder that, so for instance, if I'm having like a challenging day, it's like, okay, what am I grateful for? Just reminding myself of that sort of thing. Like, the other day I was looking out the window and going, it's actually a really nice day. I mean, even though where I am, it's a bit cold for me, but it's still like, wow, look at that. Just allowing myself to feel that wonder and just think about, if I wasn't here in this moment at this time, I would have missed this kind of thing.
Yeah. Go ahead, Susie.
Guys, that's something gratitude takes me out of a moment when I'm about to slide down this path of, it's like, no, wait a minute. There is this, and I can even be grateful to somebody else who's having an experience so that I don't have it. Sometimes that gets a little snotty in there, but you're still like, thank you for doing that so that I can learn from it too. So thanks, Kai, for that reminder, for helping me remember that.
So for me, having and showing gratitude is what makes life easier and takes the sting out. Susie, how about you? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that I can find a lot to be grateful for. I find it needs to be a sincere thing, that I am truly grateful. I've had some experiences in my life that challenged a whole lot of my perspectives, but then I dig deeper, and sometimes using humor helps me, and I'm grateful for my sense of humor, and I am grateful for my ability to look and find that nugget. There seem to be those nuggets in there that allow me to stay in a state of grace. They're telling me, it's a state of grace to be able to find what you're grateful for. And I don't have to convince other people. I just say, this is my perspective, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for, Lisa, you're talking about the lessons you've learned in your life. I'm grateful for the lessons that I've learned in my life and how it's expanded my community in such ways. Like this morning, I was so grateful for the clearing y'all helped me with and did. So it can be, gratitude can be anything. It can manifest in a number of ways. It's taking yourself out of that moment when you're on that path to going, God damn it, before you get all kinds of grumpy, where you can just go, wait a minute, wait a minute, what can I get out of this that's going to be good for me? And it impacts my health. I mean, if you see those folks who are always complaining about stuff, and then I'm not worried, I do get concerned about how that impacts them, mental health and physical health. But I understand, what's the word? Kuleana? That's not
Yeah,
my
Kuleana.
problem, not my circus. Kuleana. So
Yeah.
I frequently use people as a reflection. There's something to reflect on to help me find that place of gratitude. And God, I can breathe better, and my shoulders drop, and physically I am so much more relaxed when I find that gratitude in any moment. How about you, Kai?
Yeah, to a certain degree, I'm the same way. Because yeah, gratitude can change my perspective as well. Like, for instance, currently there's a situation that I have with a bunch of friends that are online, and it's pretty tense right now. And so for me, the grateful part comes with the fact that um even though we're all kind of feeling this tension, there's still a bunch of us that are like, you know what, that's okay, we're still going to move forward, we're still going to do what we need to do, we're still going to have a good time, we're still going to support each other, so it's like having that yes but in a good way.
Mhm.
Like, this is our situation that we're having to deal with, yes, but we also have this.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of like, again, that saving grace that you talked about, is that we get to engage our energy and our focus and our hope towards something much more positive, much more constructive, and much healthier in the long run. um and that's what I like about it. It's that you can take even the worst situations and be like, well, at least I don't have to this, you know what I mean? In other words, like that, finding the silver lining thing, right? Without descending into the, well, what was the lesson here? Well, we don't have to descend into that. But like really looking at like all the good things that came with that. I mean, because it's nothing is ever all bad. There's always something in there that you can be like, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to hassle with that anymore.
Yeah.
What a relief that is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can count a number of occasions where some kind of disaster in my life happened, right? Like I lost a job. It's where corporate America and I decided to say goodbye because, I just realized I wasn't a corporate girl, and it did me the world of good. It allowed me to go out and start my business, which I eventually wanted to do anyway, but they just gave me a nice little push. And I'm like, I'm thankful for that because everything started to come into play for me. So yeah, I mean, appreciating timing, because sometimes sometimes getting into an accident really feels inconvenient, but think about the other opportunities that came with that. So Kai, you mentioned the yes, but I love improv. So I work as hard as I can to say yes, and what that does is it underscores that perspective, right? And I just have to share with the two of you that I'm a brain nerd. So what's really fascinating. No, a little bit. It's interesting that gratitude impacts your health for the better. It changes your brain. It improves your health. It reduces cortisol level in our brains and increases dopamine, allowing the feeling of increased energy and optimism. It reduces our anxiety levels, and in some cases, it can increase our happiness by 25%. So there's this little cocktail called DOSE, D-O-S-E, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. What's interesting is that dopamine gets released when you're anticipating an event. Serotonin makes you feel happy, and oxytocin is called the cuddle hormone because it makes you feel taken care of. The endorphins cause the euphoria. So knowing this, when we express gratitude, the surge of dopamine floods our brains, giving us a natural high, creating certain feelings that motivate us to repeat specific behaviors. So ergo, more gratitude. So in 2017, a study by the University of Oregon and Harvard both found that the brain craves the experience of giving. Have either one of you experienced that in your life?
I like
Craving?
I mean, I don't know about, you know, if I don't recall if I got the rush or not, but I mean, every Thanksgiving when I was living in an apartment complex, we had one of those giving trees for the Salvation Army. And every year what I did is I endeavored to take one more every year. So like the first year I took 2, then the next year I took 3, the next year I took 4 and 5. I think I got up to like 6, I think, at one point before we moved. But, you know, so that was my way of giving back, because at that point, you know, I was making really good money and I was like, you know, I need to do this for less fortunate, because I know what that's like. So I made it a concerted effort to try to give however I could in, you know, ways that were not invasive or overbearing or anything like that, you know, just a simple gesture.
Yeah.
And it made me feel good that not only that I did that, but that I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that simple gesture, I think that's important. It doesn't have to be all like da na 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 na. It doesn't have to be like the searchlights and everything. So at my table at events, I have a bowl of crystals and I offer it up to kids, but sometimes it doesn't resonate. And there was this one time there was this one kid who was like poking around and I took me a minute to figure out that I had something I could give him. And that's where the endorphin rush came. I have these worry dolls from Guatemala. And I said, would you like to take one of these? And I explained that the worry dolls, you whisper your worries into it, and at night they take them away. And the kid just lit up. And that for me is that rush.
Aw.
And his mom's leaning in and going, would you like one of those? He's like, yeah. I was like, and I'm all like, sure, kid, take it. It's fine. So that sort of connection is great. It's something I can do in that moment.
Mhm.
And that's where I get that rush from. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a big thing. I encourage people who do have the resources. Yeah. Once I saw a guy buying groceries for folks in Trader Joe's, and that just fills me up with joy and that gratitude. So,
Yeah.
you know, it could be, what do you call it, incidental, or it could be, I don't know, contagious. No, that doesn't sound right, but you know,
No, it's a
you can take,
sharing of energy, because it's like, you know, like people get caught up in the giving of it, right?
Mhm.
And it's like that's kind of that's that holiday spirit thing that everybody yaks about, is that that's actually what it is. Like, you know,
Goodwill.
you share your joy and you share your generosity and the gratitude that comes with that, like, and we all get to share in that, in the energy of that.
Yeah.
And that's why it's good for us to continue to perpetuate that.
Mhm. All year
even
long.
in a small way, because it's inevitable that whatever kind of energy you have, so say if you're having like a really horrible day, right, you go into the office, you talk to somebody else, even if you didn't say anything that would make them feel bad or whatever, because of your energy, like you've just kind of transferred that to them, so now they're having a bad day, you know, versus like if you come in and you're like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be a great day, then other people who get near you get it, like quote unquote infected with that good energy and take it and
Mhm.
continue to spread it, and that's what we want.
Yeah. Yeah. I recall one time where I was involved in a juried art show. And unfortunately, weather was terrible. And so artists were just ganging up on this particular event coordinator. And I felt bad because I was standing back and I was watching these artists going, "Where's my work? And where's this? And where's that? And where's that?" And she's like, I'm trying, but the U.S. Postal Service, FedEx, UPS, they haven't come in yet because we've been dealing with snow. Right. And the artists were up in arms. And I appreciate the artist's perspective because it's original art. Right. I get that. I'm standing back and I could just see her just absolutely downtrodden and beleaguered by all of this energy. And so she was saddled with it and I could see it. They all left and I walked up and I know she looked at me like, "What do you want now? Just come on, bring it at me." And I'm like, "No, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for everything that you've been doing because I know this is hard. I would not want to coordinate an event if my life depended on it. And I know it's a really hard job. And for us just getting in here, beating the snow and beating the stupid traffic and everything else, I get it. And the fact that you've got, responsibilities that are 10 levels higher than me just showing up and showing my work, I'm like, you have no idea how grateful I am that you're doing this." And she's like, "Oh my God, thank you." And I'm like, "Yeah, you bet. So, go take a break because you don't need this." It made me feel good just to kind of remind her worthiness and that she was valued as an organizer because people don't need that.
Yeah, what I would
was
like to have shift in energy is that gratitude is not such a surprise. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, "Oh my gosh, you were nice." So, I mean, even the phlebotomist, I had my blood taken the other day, and it's like, "Wow, thank you. That was a nice, good one." And they just seem so surprised, especially the folks who have jobs that, like Lisa said, I would not want to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't want to put up with that stuff, and I choose not to. But I am grateful to the people who do put themselves out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I had 2 vaccines the other day and I'm like, "Oh my God, I didn't feel that at all. Thank you so much." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, yeah, it's those tiny moments, those micro moments that really make somebody's day. And they can really impact your relationships if it's, just a fleeting moment or if it's ongoing, like be friends or family or colleagues. It
Yeah.
helps to build and strengthen resiliency in ourselves and build strong relationships. What's interesting is that gratitude builds emotional resilience by helping us to see the positive things in life. The very act of creating contrast between the positive and negative helps to pinpoint the appreciation. So let it be, getting an inoculation, right? Also, it helps to stop awfulizing. When we find ourselves in an emotional loop that collects more and more pessimistic thoughts, gratitude replaces them with optimistic ones. And then lastly, staying grounded and accepting the present situation, even if it is a harsh reality.
sometimes what I'll do especially like at this time of year where everybody's in the grocery store buying all their stuff and people are not always very nice to the cashiers. And I think to myself, well, would you like to bring up your stuff yourself? Probably not, right? So why are you berating this person?
Yeah.
They're like, well, the price is wrong. It's like, yeah, but that's not their fault.
Right.
It's like they're not in charge of the prices. Like, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
And
Perspective.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I just was, and so I remember one time there was this guy who was just like tearing into the cashier over something that she had absolutely no control over. I mean, she handled the situation, and then he was just, the whole thing that they like to do, entitlement, blah, blah, blah. And he walked away. And then I walked up to her and I said, "You know what? You handled that amazingly. That was fantastic. Like, no one could have done it better than you just did. And you know what? It's like, he's having a bad day. That's not your problem. It's like, you are amazing. You were fast. You were efficient. You did everything you were supposed to do. So
Mhm.
you know what? Don't let it bother you."
Yeah.
I thought you were amazing. And she was
That's
like,
awesome.
Yeah.
and her whole body just went, "Oh, thank you so much."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I am impressed, Kai, that you not confront, but you address it
Mhm.
with them directly. There was one time I was waiting in line, and some guy's like, "Well, you didn't have it, and I'm going to go someplace else, and won't that?" And I did the same thing. She didn't take it personally, I don't think, but I said, "Okay, so now I'm going to be chill about this and ask you questions," and just I don't mind playing the fool for somebody to encourage them to lighten up, to help them shift that energy. I don't address it always directly.
Mhm.
So that will be something I get to work on. Woo! And to I think that that's the point, not just being spiritual, but being a human, is to help folks get through it the
Yeah.
best way we can.
Yeah. Moment by moment. Absolutely. We are not personal kicking dogs for other people to take their woes out. And people forget that. People forget that we're all human and we're just trying to make it together. I remember a quick story Andrew loves to tell, and this is he was in an airport, all the flights were canceled, bad weather, people were yelling at the service people behind the counter. Again, she was beleaguered. He walked up and he's like, "What's going on?" And she's like, "All the flights have been canceled." And he's like, "Oh man, okay, well," and she's like, "Sir, what's your number?" And he told her, and he's like, "All right, well, let me know when another flight comes around." And of course, 100 people around him have just finished unloading on this poor service woman. He walks away and she goes, "Sir, hold on a minute. I have a flight that just came in. Would you like it?" And she gave him an upgrade. Yeah. This is what happens when you're bloody nice to people, when you accept circumstances as they are. So, yeah. And I'm not saying be nice because you can get something out of it, but
But what you send out can come back to you.
yeah.
I get a sale I do is reading, and usually it's cash. I've learned to add my phone to it, but I bless it. I am grateful for the love and abundance that comes our way, and may it increase 10,000 fold. I don't have a good ending like, "Oh, amen, so be it," whatever. But folks are surprised by that, because we're sharing that generosity, sharing that gratitude for what we get. So yeah, you're right, Lisa. I don't do it just so I can hopefully weasel something out of it. But it's the focus I see that Andrew had was that he was understanding
Yeah.
and being that light, and
Yeah.
he was being that calm spot in that shitstorm.
Yeah. And I think this speaks to resentment. I think I was going to say that gratitude is the opposite of resentment, but I think gratitude neutralizes resentment. Resentment can lead to feelings of scarcity, blockages, and stagnation around money, career aspirations, community, and even situations like approaching the airline counter. I know that there were times when I went hungry, I went homeless, I was alone, and resources were scarce. It was scary, but I knew that I'd survive. I'd figure a way out. And I learned how to become resilient through my darkest hours. It was during those times I swear I could feel my guardian angel, even though I didn't believe in them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important to remember that, when you have resentments, just a quick thing here is like to really dig into them and find out what they're related to. Like, are you really mad at that, or are you really mad about something about yourself?
Mhm.
And if that's the case, then like whatever it is, like just make sure you deal with it, because resentment is one of those things that can fester and will destroy things. It will destroy things if you don't take care of it.
Yeah.
And gratitude is one of those things that you can use. Like, even if you're like really resentful about stuff, you can like shift your focus and go, yes, that really sucks, but look at that. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Or, yeah, I really hate that,
Mhm.
but I really love this.
Mhm.
Like, focus your attention and focus your energy towards
Yeah.
the thing that will keep you moving forward, that will make you feel better, and that will enhance your life instead of like take away things from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even some of the hard stuff, like hard conversations, somebody brings up something, we're breaking that ground here with my family is that somebody will bring up something and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I do we look at it and then I don't know, but I wanna say that I tell them I'm grateful for the conversation
Mhm.
because there are times I'm so focused on my stuff or completely oblivious
Mhm.
that somebody bringing up their stand, their viewpoint on whatever it is they're talking about. It's just like, okay, so gratitude can help you grow in so many ways, and it gets you out of those trenches, or it can help prevent that resentment from taking big hold. But that's, relationships, communication, it all feeds into that, to strengthening all of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I remember a time when one of the early days when I was going through issues with my mother and my dad said, "Hey, you know what? Do you want to go for a chocolate shake?" He knew that was my Achilles tendon, and I'm like, "Okay, let's go." Through my tears, I enjoyed the shake and I enjoyed his company, because he reminded me that I was a good daughter. He reminded me of all the value that I held as a human being. And that meant the world to me. That absolutely meant the world. And the moment really, my whole world is falling apart, but he's sitting there, on the side of the bridge with me, and we both got our chocolate shakes. And it was just a nice, quiet little moment, right? It was 10 minutes, but it meant everything to me. And that kind of relationship helps to foster and build stronger relationships. And of course, when I appreciate the good people in my life who are there for me, I try to remind myself to remind them that, you know, I wouldn't be where I am today without their friendship and without their guidance and their help. These are the people who make us feel more loved, cared for, and overall more hopeful, as a matter of fact.
Excuse me. The other thing to note is that, it's important also to show gratitude for yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Having to do the things like related, be grateful for the things about yourself.
Yeah.
Like the things you can do, the things you're capable of saying, how you express yourself. Like be grateful for whatever it is about you that makes you you.
Mhm.
I'm a great writer. I'm a great speaker. I can make people laugh. I'm a great cook.
Mhm.
I'm a great TV watcher. Whatever whatever it happens to be, because it doesn't have to be some status thing, like I'm grateful that I am a doctor.
Right.
It doesn't have to be something lofty like that, right? It could be like, I am the fastest popcorn eater in our house.
Mhm.
It could be something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. It's just like, or I, or I am the fastest channel surfer we have here. Whatever it is,
Mhm. Mhm.
like be grateful for whatever it is about yourself.
Yeah.
Like I'm the
I
person
feel
who.
that being
Go
I
ahead.
feel like being honest with yourself. You're saying I'm great at writing, and I'm like, "Ooh," my ego's like, "Ooh, don't do that so much. You're good at writing." But I think as we're talking to ourselves, we're shifting that language
Mhm.
so that we are celebrating ourselves. I think that's really important, Kai. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm a great speaker. I'm a great room sweeper. Like no one can sweep a room like me.
Mhm.
Whatever. Like,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
I'm really good at hanging curtains, or I'm really good at sewing, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, or I'm like the best bargain shopper. Like if
Yeah.
you need something on sale, I will find it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Whatever your thing is, whatever that happens to be, and we are multiple things.
Right.
Yes.
We are. We're multifaceted. Mhm.
Yeah, be grateful for all of it.
Yeah.
Because that's who you are. That's what makes up who you are. So that
Yeah.
gratitude that you are feeling and expressing and enhancing should be about you as well. That has nothing to do with how much money you make,
Right.
or what you look like, or
Mhm.
any other superficial aspect of you.
That's key. Yeah. Yeah. Anything from serious to silly, right? For me, I have this natural gift to be able to illustrate anything I see. And I'm like, that I got in the bag, right? I have this gift that I can pour 4 glasses of wine with 1 bottle without stopping and refilling. It's just all at the same time. But don't ask me about distance. Don't ask me how far something is. I can't tell you. But volume, I've got it in the bag. So yeah, I think it's really important to write down not only your values and what you hold sacred, because that is part of, kind of showing gratitude. It's like, yeah, I've got this value that that contributes to society or contributes to my well-being, being a great cook, right? Understanding the spice rack. I'm learning that Andrew knows his way around the spice rack. I'm grateful that he knows his way around the spice rack because he can make chicken 50 different ways, and it's never boring.
So, find ways to celebrate your wins, whatever that happens to look like, so if you have, like I said, if you're funny and you're like, yep, I can balance a spoon on the end of my nose and that is my grand talent, then celebrate that. There's nothing wrong with that. Do that, like enjoy and really dig in and be grateful for all that you are.
Sometimes you really have to dig. Like some days it's like, okay, I'm grateful I got out of bed.
Yeah.
And I've worked with folks, and some days it's like, okay, I'm grateful. I can be grateful that I have to wake up at 2 o'clock and go to the bathroom. Okay, that's fine. I've got things that are working. So I'm grateful to the body being able to do it. But sometimes you got to dig, and that's
Yeah.
okay too.
Yeah.
Gratitude is gratitude, and it has a spectrum, and there are shades of gratitude, and it's okay. I think the point we're trying to drive home here is that you can find something to be grateful for, and it's not all Hallmark movie kind of thing. It's like,
Oh, God,
I
no.
really am grateful that I have a supportive group, or that, I have my water bottle with me, and all of this stuff. It can be whatever it takes in that moment to help shift your energy. It's a surprising shift.
Yeah. And gratitude can also help us cope with crisis. The fascinating point that I read earlier this week is that Robert Emmons, a PhD, he's the world's leading scientific expert on gratitude. Whenever I find myself in a crisis, major or minor, I think about the ways it could be worse. So here's what I do. I count 3 different ways the situation could have gone sideways or how it could have gotten worse. I'm immediately grateful for at least the 3 elements that are working in my favor at that time. And it only takes a moment to take a deep breath and start appreciating what I do have in the moment. Emmons also says this process of remembering how difficult life used to be and how far we have come sets up an explicit contrast. That's fertile ground for gratefulness.
This is the things that life is made of right here. So in other words, like whatever else might be lingering at the back of your mind, like drop that stuff.
Yeah.
And just enjoy yourself.
Yeah. That I think is really hard for a lot of people, Kai. That's a really good point. Just stop and enjoy yourself. Leave the worries for tomorrow, right? Just because there may not be a next time. There may not be a next time to hang out with your family or your friends or the person you haven't seen for many years, and you have to part ways again for another indeterminable time. The next thing I'd like to bring up is discounting the positive. Recognizing something good in your life and then rejecting it as irrelevant, as in that doesn't count or anyone can do that. The point I want to make about that doesn't count is essentially gaslighting yourself from appreciating the talents or the creativity you possess. And we talked about that just a little bit earlier. And of course, anyone can get the curse of knowledge. It's a dangerous bias that assumes that other people have the same expertise and experience that you do. So I ask to please refrain from making disparaging remarks about yourself. That's not in your best interest. Respect your worth and value and teach others how to do the same.
I thank you for bringing that up because there's a lot of knowledge that I have. And I don't know how many times in my life people have said, so when are you going to write the book? It's like, I don't know. And I've had topics that I can cover, and I have frequently said, but other people do that. And a while back, I was told that it's because of my perspective. They were grateful for my perspective or my take or my humor on it. So we can do whatever we need to. Somebody else out there is going to be grateful that we've expressed that part of ourselves.
Mhm.
And so I appreciate that, Lisa,
Mhm.
to not discount our abilities to be in that gratitude for it. So I'm glad you brought that up. It's about energy. I have made some prayer shawls, and there was one I was making for a friend, but I got to a part of the pattern when it went from, oh, peace, love, and healing to good. It was like, well, that one's not getting finished. I just ripped it out. Sorry, but I'm an absolute believer in the energy you put into stuff can shift it. The
Mhm.
energy you put into not only topics, but into what you're grateful for, to finding that stuff that you're grateful for,
Mhm.
and not being fake about it.
Mhm.
That's not really the great thing. I mean, I don't know if we haven't done toxic spirituality yet, but that is a real thing. But
Coming
toxic
up.
positivity is another side of it.
Oh,
And being
God.
grateful. See, oh, I don't know how many times I've said it. Don't be sarcastic to the universe. The universe only hears the words.
Mhm.
It will take the energy and go, oh yeah, so you want more of that car accident thing? We got you. But toxic positivity, I encourage folks to really look at it. And I
Mhm.
do have a question I want to pose to you all if we're at that point yet.
I think
Is
so.
that okay? Is toxic positivity something that you just send out to other people? Like, oh no, that's okay, we're fine. Or is that something that we can do on ourselves internally? Because I know folks who have like that whole level of positivity that you're just like, what is that from? And then they go back and finish off a box of wine or whatever. So there's a coping mechanism missing there.
Yeah.
But, you
Yeah.
know, which way can that go? Or
Both.
does it go both ways?
Yeah, it can go both
Okay.
ways. It's a form of avoidance, and it's not a valid solution to our problems. It's actually very
Okay.
detrimental to our health. I know that my mother-in-law was famous for that, and it just turned me inside out. They say that New Age spirituality is a breeding ground for toxic positivity. That's not the only place. It happens at our kitchen tables as well. It's become an easy button for those who refuse to take a deeper look inside themselves or any situation, right? Because we might get triggered, right? And it might be, oh, I don't know, so I'm just going to throw that out there because I'm going to avoid it, go do your own thing. Getting into spirituality is not a get out of free jail card. It's far from it. I remember going back to my mother-in-law that I'd share anxieties or misfortunes with her because I felt that she was a confidant. And more often she'd quip, oh, Lisa, just be positive. That would turn me inside out. That's not helpful.
Yeah, toxic positivity also has to do with, sometimes people lie to themselves. I'm fine, it's fine, I'm fine. Don't worry about me, I got this, I'm okay. And this is something I think women do more so than men in some respects. But there are men who do it too, in terms of like, I know you're not feeling well. No, I'm fine. And it's just like, really, like, we need to like get rid of that word fine, and just say, yeah, I don't feel good, or something's happening, or whatever, and just acknowledge. I think that's what the toxic positivity is counteracting. Just an acknowledgement. That doesn't mean to say that if I tell somebody I'm not having a great day, that I expect them to fix it.
Right.
Because sometimes they can't fix it. No matter what they do, no matter what they say, they can't change anything.
Right.
So it's just an acknowledgement of whatever it is. The toxic positivity, I think, has come about because we are social creatures, and we've taught, when someone asks you how you are, you say, I'm fine.
Mhm.
Thanks for asking. And that is the part of our social, expectation, and then we're done.
Yeah.
And any other real authentic feeling is to be reserved for some other point in time.
Mhm.
But we've never actually said what that point in time is.
Right.
So, so I
Under
think
the
that-
rug time.
yeah, so or in the closet kind of thing. And then that's when you get all these behaviors that come to the surface in like bizarre ways. And then everyone around them goes, oh, I didn't know.
Right.
It's
He
like,
was such a
and
quiet
you-
boy.
And sometimes that I'm fine. Yeah, that's an avoidance because maybe that person who's asking does not deserve to hear it. If we could switch that around to saying those times I'm saying, oh, I'm fine to somebody I don't trust,
Mhm.
I would bring that inside saying, oh, I don't trust them, but who do I trust?
Mhm.
So I see that as being a cue for somebody to look deeper into it and then find somebody they trust to talk about it. Because it's entirely possible, like with that little bit of one snarky remark I made, came back through like a couple of states worth of people and became gossip. It's like, okay, I don't trust that person to talk to. Who
Mhm.
can I trust?
Mhm.
And so we can work on shifting that response to ourselves, paying attention to what we're saying and how we're saying it and to whom we're saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's also a third way to look at the I'm fine is we may not be ready to talk about it. As in, there
Okay.
might have been some egregious act that maybe my partner hit me with, and not hit me, but affronted me with, and I have to chew on it because I'm like, this doesn't feel good to me. I need to chew on it. I need to articulate. I need to figure out where I feel it in my body first so that I can articulate it to myself, so that I can articulate it to him. So, at what point it's kind of like, I'm fine for now. We're going to need to have a talk probably in 24 hours. Let me work through this so that we can have a civil discussion, because I don't want to chew your head off. It's probably not
yeah,
warranted.
no. And those are,
Yeah.
those are two examples of, legitimate answers based on the circumstances. But I think for the most part, when someone asks us, just, whoever it might be under any circumstances, and even if you're having like a really horrible day, someone's like, how you doing? It's like, oh, fine. That's our answer. And then it stops there.
Yeah.
And so in other words, like, we're not willing to like go further than that, acknowledge that there really is something wrong.
Yeah.
Even if it turns out to be a person that might be able to do something about it.
Yeah.
We prefer to just like, just shut it down. And then we just take on that energy and we just stew in it, and and then it leads to like resentment and all the other things that we don't want.
Yeah.
Versus if we actually just, like take a moment to say, well, yeah, well, sometimes what I'll do, like somebody says, oh, like, how you doing today? Like, if I don't really want to deal with it, but I don't want to lie and say I'm fine, my excuse is like, yeah, I'm kind of tired today, which is usually true, so it's not an untruth, but
Mhm.
it's not like in depth either.
Right.
Or some people are just like, oh, I'm kind of preoccupied or whatever. At least that is a much more authentic answer that can be then acknowledged by that other person. That
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily require any trust on your part.
Right.
You know what I mean? You could tell that to
Well,
a stranger
Yeah.
and it would be fine. But at least it's acknowledging, like
Mhm.
an outward acknowledgement of how you feel by yourself.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because I think a lot of times we say that we're fine and we start to believe that when we're really not.
Right. Right. And I think
Okay.
that speaks to the whole self-sufficiency and extreme independence that can be trauma responses too, because growing up, right, in the dysfunctional family that I grew up in, I learned to be reserved and reticent and not ask for help, because each time I asked for it, I didn't get it. And I was also ridiculed for it. So, being mindful about the words, now that I know that the community I've chosen and the people that I choose to hang around with, I can be more vulnerable and not worry about ridicule. But at the same time, I know not to unload on the both of you as well if I've got other things going on in the background. Keeping it in perspective. Go check in with a therapist or go check in with nature, whatever that looks like. To keep the boundaries intact, but also kind of share a little bit more of my personality so that you understand that, yeah, you know what, I'm a little tired, or I'm a little cold, I'm a little hungry, or I'm feeling a little bit lonely, or hey, I think I got a cord attached to me. It's not one of those 5 things.
Nope.
But yeah, I mean, emotions are cyclical. Another thing I want to touch on is labeling the various activities and emotions as either high vibration or low vibration places value judgments on those emotions. We can't all stay high vibrational at all times. It's impossible. So acknowledging our emotions is good for our health. Back to your point, Kai. Understanding their origin points and then making an effort to resolve them is a natural process to our humanness. Everything's a cycle, and it is okay not to be okay.
And in fact, you can derive gratitude from that, admitting that you're not okay in the moment.
Mhm.
It's your choice to decide if you're going to dissect it right there in that
Mhm.
moment. But
Yeah.
you can take that gratitude and say, okay, no, I could be better. Thank you for asking, and move along. You don't have to.
Yeah. And also, if somebody does ask and wants to probe a little bit, you can just say, I'm not ready to talk about it. Yeah. And that goes into also toxic gaslighting. Today, I can say the word gratitude without wincing. And I know that I've shared a couple of times my dysfunctional family. But I have to say that for many, many years, the word gratitude and grateful gave me hives. That word was used as a shaming tactic by my mother, gaslighting me and anyone else around me into thinking that I was ungrateful for the roof over my head and the clothes on my back was a toxic monkey on my back that took me years to neutralize. And of course, living in the South for a long 24 years didn't help either. And since moving to Seattle 7 years ago, I've become friends with gratitude. And of course, it didn't come naturally during a crisis. And it's really tough to feel gratitude when you've just been kicked in the teeth by someone that you trust.
Let's move on to some techniques on how to practice and work with gratitude. The thing about gratitude is you can do things in a simple way. It doesn't have to be this big, huge affair with lights and cameras and all this other stuff. It has to be, or it can be like simple and almost tiny in a way. But those little things, because that's what life is made out of, is all these little moments strung together. Some of our best memories are just little things that happen. Like I remember, somebody, I know I've told this story, and depending on where it is in the cycle of videos, but my aunt and I used to always have a argument about filet of fish from McDonald's.
Yep.
And the point is, like, she used to always call it a fish fillet, and I would say, no, it is a filet of fish. I was very precise as a kid, still am. But yeah, so she
respecting the McDonald's brand.
Yeah, we would go back and forth for hours on that. And it was just our little running joke. But you know what? It is one of, like, and it seems really stupid and it's funny, but it is also one of my most cherished memories of my aunt. So it doesn't have to be a grand thing.
No.
So you can do things like watch your favorite old movie, spend time talking to a friend, take a walk, take pleasure in simple things like the blue sky, green grass, autumn leaves, the crispness of the air. If you happen to be someplace where it snows, like enjoy the quiet that the snow brings. The sound of the rain hitting the roof kind of stuff. If or
I love that.
Yeah, like the sound of the wind in the trees kind of stuff, like all that. It's like, just take that in and just enjoy that. Because there's no expectations. And that's the whole thing about gratitude, is that there's no expectations like you must do this. It's like, no, just sit there and just enjoy it and just be like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I had this moment
Mhm.
to enjoy that.
I love that.
So, you know, these little things like show gratitude and enjoyment, and, you know, don't forget the random acts of kindness,
Yeah.
which is basically, you know, and I'm not necessarily talking about, I mean, like here in Seattle, sometimes they'll do a thing at Starbucks where you pay for the person's drink after you or whatever, or that kind of thing, which, you know, but if you don't have any money, the thing about random acts of kindness is it doesn't have to cost you any money.
Mm-mm.
You know, it's a thing where you can, if you see someone at the grocery store trying to get out of the store and they can't open the door, open the door.
Yeah.
You know, for, you know, whatever it is, like find small ways that you can show kindness.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like, you know, this big thing. And so here's one thing to know. Okay. If you're doing things just so someone can tell you thank you, that is not
No.
that
No.
is an expectation
Mm-hmm.
and should never be a part of this equation.
No.
You do things because you want to do them,
Right.
not because you will be thanked later.
Yeah.
That is a gift with a string, which means it is not a gift.
That's called communal narcissism, actually. Yeah.
Really?
That's a thing.
It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I had a lady that I worked with. She was just like, well, you know, I did something nice to her. She didn't even thank me.
Oh.
Like, so then what, you want to take it back then?
Mm-hmm.
Some people have a hard time saying thank you.
Yeah.
But that's not your issue.
Yeah.
Your part of it was to do something nice. Whatever they chose to do afterwards has nothing to do with you.
Right.
Okay. That really throws that gratitude thing into a new light for me because, you know, you have kids and you say, what do you say now? Thank you. And like one kid threw a fit in my house before she left and the mom supported me on it. And I'm like, maybe, yeah, that could have gone a different way. So that's an interesting perspective for me to look at because, you know, thank you is nice. It's polite, but there are some people who have other things, other obstacles in their life that may prevent them from saying that. And if we're so hung up on y'all are helping me process this right now, but if we're so hung up on getting that thank you, then yeah, that's a great perspective. Thanks, Kai.
There's that, but on the flip side, Susie, there's also entitlement, right? I got that a lot from my family. It's like, I don't need to thank you. And I'm like, I didn't have to give that to you. And it's not that I'm expecting a thank you, but if it's over a birthday present or a holiday present, I'm kind of expecting a thank you. I'm kind of expecting, hey, Aunt Lisa, I really appreciate that you bought this computer for me. I really appreciate that you did X, Y, and Z for me. You didn't have to do that. So I'm grateful that you thought of me.
Yeah, I mean, that's a totally different circumstance. But I mean, if you're doing something small for someone,
yeah,
and you know, and you didn't actually get a thank you for it, like, you know, if I open the door for somebody, it's like most of the time people go, thanks, or you know, or sometimes they're like so involved with whatever they're doing that they just like, I'm just trying to get through, you know, and they don't think about it. And I'm like, that's no reflection on me. I did my part.
Yep.
Like if you don't thank me for whatever, that's like when, you know, I let people in on the freeway, you know, like when I get in, like I usually wave and say thank you.
Yeah.
But you know, if the person in front of me doesn't, that's not on me.
9 times out of 10. Yep. 9 times out of 10, they don't wave back. And I'm like, wow. Okay. And,
like that has nothing to do with me. Like to me, it's like, I've done my part. If you don't have the ability or wherewithal or even inclination to show gratitude for what you've been given, that's on you.
Pay attention to see if they're Pay attention to see if they're a BMW driver because they never wave.
Well, you know, I mean,
about to go off.
You know, and the funny thing is, it's like, but you know, I try not to have expectations about stuff like that because I mean, you know, like sometimes you look at cars, you're like, oh, that guy, you know, that guy's an asshole. in
Mhm.
that car. He's an asshole, right? But then but then every once in a while they'll be like, so it's like you never know. So you can't make that judgment. At least I don't. So it's like I do my part,
Mhm.
and it's like I leave the rest up to the universe, because
Yeah.
it's like inevitably what happens is, I mean, I've seen this happen so many times where some guy just zooms in and like cuts me off.
Yep.
And then like we go further down the road within the next 10 minutes and somebody cuts them off, and I'm
Yep.
like,
Yep.
"Hmm,
Karma.
yeah.
Hope
know
you
what I
get
mean?
there safely.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just like, so
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's like, you do your part. That's your kindness part. You made the effort.
Yeah.
You put the energy out there. Whatever the other person does with it or doesn't do with it is on them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's the simplest way to show gratitude is, yes, to say thank you or to help, diffuse a situation. What we do in my house at dinner, whoever's home at the time we're ready to serve up, we do what we call gratefuls. I mean, I came from that Catholic background where we always had to say grace and all of this stuff, and it just became so rote. You just said it and you said it. And yeah, I understand that shifts energy, but it's like, I don't want to do that. I've shied away as much as I can
Mhm.
from that sort of stuff. But my family gets together and we say gratefuls, we call them, and we include whoever. The few times we have guests, those rare occurrences when we have a guest over, we encourage them to join in with it. And it helps for me. I started that practice because I wanted to shift how we saw things.
Mhm.
And sometimes it is. I'm grateful for the food and yep, that's it. But it allows me that opportunity to dig in and to remind myself that yeah, it could have been a crappy day, but I'm okay. I came
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, the other thing is like when, in random act of kindness, if someone does something kind for you, the other thing that you can do with that is not only say thank you, but you
Mhm.
can also pay it forward.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. And finding the real good out of there. So sometimes, we do that sarcasm, thanks or thanks, Obama or whatever, but let's learn to find the real good and stuff. And that enhances that energy of gratitude. You can learn affirmations are a great way to start to instill a sense of gratitude within you. I am grateful, or for this or that or the other. You can listen to meditations, and I have some gratitude meditations on my website at bluelightninghealing.com. And I have been grateful for being able to do that because I find that I've learned those practices on my own. Sometimes visual reminders are good. Do y'all have stuff set up in your houses where you just go, oh, I'm thankful for that particular thing? Maybe it's a picture of an event, like Kai's talking about the arguments she would have with filet o fish. I want to know, is it O with an apostrophe?
Or hyphens.
No.
Makes it sound kind of Irish.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just like hyphen, hyphen.
Okay.
On
That's
brand.
not an okay.
No, it's not Irish. That's a separate argument that you and Kai can have, Susie.
I'm not arguing. I'm good.
Yeah. No,
But
the
practicing
visual reminders.
gratitude, it's integrating it into your life. Yeah, Kai?
No, it's like you mentioned the visual reminders. It's like I don't actually have something that says like, that I put somewhere that that I'm grateful for, but I do have things that like when I see them, I'm just like, gosh, I'm so glad I have that now. Like it makes me feel good to have that. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's like
Mhm.
expressing gratitude whenever I see that object and be like, wow, I'm really happy about that. And that's
Yeah.
going to help me so much.
I always say thank you to Andrew when he cooks us a meal. Every time it became rote for us too growing up. It's like, thank your mom and dad for making your meal for you right before you get up from the dinner table. But now I am ever so grateful. And again, I know I've shared it before. I can cook, but he loves to cook. So I'm like, all right, dude, have at it. But every single time I'm like, dude, thanks for a great dinner. Appreciate it. He's like, sure, no problem. And I go and I clean up the kitchen. He's like, thanks for cleaning up the kitchen. I'm like, yep, happy to do it.
Yep.
Happy to do it because you made the meal. So yeah, it's those tiny moments of appreciation.
that serves on so many levels. Yeah, that whole appreciation in a relationship, or a home relationship, or even a public relationship.
Mhm.
And language you use when you are grateful to somebody, that's important. We talk about the power of language in an upcoming episode,
Mhm.
but being grateful for the real good things. And like I said, sarcasm is not understood. But as you're starting a practice, or as you're developing your practice for gratitude, it's okay to start doing little things like, oh, smiling at somebody on the street that you feel comfortable with.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's all they need.
Mhm.
Or, just saying thank you. And on my notes, I say writing letters of gratitude, and I don't know if we do that, but at least communicating your gratitude in some way may seem small to you, but it can mean a whole lot to somebody else, and vice versa.
Mhm.
We talked a lot about how we shift the energy with gratitude. And while we do gratitudes in my house, um, what is that thing we talk about all the time this time? We got to, Lisa, you were going to touch on counting one's blessings.
There's that. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk
Yeah.
about just being grateful for the people who challenge you, especially during the holidays, right? It could be your colleagues,
Oh,
could be your boss, could be noisy neighbor. Um, you can say thank you to them for introducing you to a new way to look at things, even if you don't agree. While their motivation might be obtuse, there might be a small grain of truth to it. So when corporate America and I parted ways, I said thank you. I mean, bosses, good or bad, have taught me so much growing up. So yeah. And so I use that lesson that the person teaches me, and and try to apply it to my daily life. Let it be through patience, compassion, or even courage. Let's talk about counting your blessings. Um, it really goes, it ties into the whole tiny wins, because I don't know, it might be something from a past life, but I know that when I get out of the shower and I'm drying off, for whatever reason, I keep saying, I'm grateful for my legs. I'm grateful for my legs. And I can't help but wonder if I was an amputee or what, but I'm like, whenever I see somebody in a wheelchair, and I'm like, Lise, get your ass out of the chair and go work out. Be grateful for your legs. Show gratitude towards your legs that they're actually carrying you. And so the tiny wins I wanted to talk about is something that I love sharing with everybody. Tiny wins they can be small or they could be substantial. And they can be recorded on your wall calendar or in your bullet journal. My digital journals have a dedicated place for them. But these are really fun little factoids that you can place every day, like I said, in your calendar. They're personal achievements based on time, difficulty, or even ability. It's that moment when you feel exhilarated, when you've accomplished something that feels big to you, but often you've discounted it during one of those micro moment sessions. So again, don't gaslight yourself out of something that is meaningful to you, like folding your laundry before, the cat gets on it and shares his hair with you. So, think about the things that made you proud today. What did you overcome? And what did you do for yourself? Even introverts like me making a phone call, that's a huge win. I don't like making phone calls. I'd rather text or send an email. So yeah. And what I do is I will review these little tiny wins, 3 stars on your calendar every day. I review them just to see how far I've come. And these tiny wins can add up and build your confidence in any skill that you're practicing. They give you perspective on how far you've come on your journey. So when you're feeling low, review them. And they're just a nice little quick pick-me-up. Also, what I want to share is a tarot spread. What do you guys think? Should we share a 3-card tarot spread? So, okay.
Ooh.
So for everyone listening in the audience, we decided this would be a lot of fun, is to do a 3-card gratitude tarot spread. So I'm going to share the 3 questions with you now. Okay. So the 3 questions are, what can I be grateful for today? To whom do I owe gratitude? And what actions can I take going forward? Okay. Well, share this spread. When you do the spread, share your spread in the comments. We would love to see them. That would be a lot of fun. I know the three of us, before we started our little episode today, we each drew our 3 cards and they were spot on. Of course, Kai and Susie had to talk me out of my 3rd card and talk me into the future. So I'm grateful that the 2 of you were here to kind of pull me out of that moment and into something a little more positive.
Today, we have covered the power of gratitude, how it improves your health, reinforces your resiliency, how it strengthens your relationships, and how it can shift your perspectives on life in general and help you move forward. We hope we've given you things to look forward to and to apply in your day. Meanwhile, you please consider taking Kai's course on shielding at handsonfire.buzz. I've got my meditations that are at bluelightninghealing.com. And then Lisa has her 2023 digital calendar, and those include mindset tools at co-createmagic.com.
You've been watching the Mystic Mosaic podcast. Hit the like button if you found the episode helpful. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell to be notified when we upload a new video. It helps the algorithm to share this episode with people who want to see it.
Look for a new episode from us every Thursday and join the conversation. Tell us in the comments section what you liked about the episode. If there's a topic you want us to cover, let us know. Thanks for watching.
And until next time, stay grounded, shielded, and magical.